Okay, so a little bit about me. I am, I've had over 15 years as a designer. I've been an industrial designer, a graphic designer, a creative director, a UX designer. I've even been a filmmaker. I make films on the side. I've worked at multinational startups, small design studios. I've worked all over the world. I've experienced very different cultures and attitudes to design. And in all these environments, design thinking has really helped me grow, pivot, and sustain a profitable career. So, the market. So, a little bit about our agenda this morning. We're going to talk about what is design thinking. We're going to look at some examples. We're going to discuss AI, whether it's a threat to your profession. We're going to talk about how to position research within design thinking and some tactics and skills you can use to develop it. And finally, we're going to end with using design thinking to add some longevity to your career. So, design thinking is an approach to problem solving centered around the human experience. It's very much positioning yourself to understand how people actually behave versus how you think they should behave. It's really important that you understand humanity. So, design thinking doesn't happen on a whiteboard, it doesn't happen on your screen. You're not going to get design thinking by using Figma. It requires strengthening your skills in storytelling, your imagination, and your observation skills. I would say observation skills are the most important one you want to develop to be a stronger designer and innovator. So let's look at some examples. So the typewriter was not invented for you and me. It was invented as a solution by two Italians. The first was Fantoni in 1801, and then that was improved on by Turri in 1802. In both cases, they were inventing and refining this solution for a blind friend in their life to help them pose letters. So this is a very specific edge case solution that ended up becoming a product that's used by everyone today. An example of that is in my own design career, I had to design a hearing aid for children, and I couldn't really change anything manufacturing wise. And what I understood based on my reflection of my own life and how children behave, they tend to pick up on things that other children maybe are a little ashamed of or embarrassed by. And the existing behind the ear hearing aid was in a colored plastic that's supposed to resemble a skin, but it doesn't really resemble anybody's skin tone. And it's subconsciously telling that child, this is something you should be ashamed of, it's something that you should hide. And it changed the behavior of the child when they're wearing it. And other kids pick up on that and they might bully the kid over that. So, very simply, went the other extreme, made the hearing aid colored plastic parts like a swatch. And that is subconsciously telling the child, this is something you need to show off. This is unique to you. Be proud of it. And because of that subtle change, based on my understanding of human behavior, it won medical design of the year. And it was a very simple thing. It wasn't anything particularly clever. It was just a very simple understanding of human behavior. Storytelling is a big one where streamers really get to know how people behave. So a lot of your bingeable shows on Netflix, we'll say, writers for those shows will often be encouraged to create recap moments where a character, usually a secondary, tertiary character, does a quick recap of what happened in the past 10 or 15 minutes. There'll be a quick sentence or two. It won't be distracting, but they do that because they understand that people put shows on in the background, particular shows. Some shows require concentration, some shows don't. And those shows that are put on the background, they require those recap moments to make it more enjoyable and to let the customer keep track of the story. So you'll notice that Netflix has adapted an existing product to real world behaviors. TV 20 years ago was certainly not like that, where there was a lot more focus on an intentionality in the storyline. This is more adapting to the way we consume content these days. Another example I use is the chess piece by Joseph Hardwick. He was part of the Bauhaus movement. He basically reduced the chess piece to its movements. So the pawn is a simple cube, small cube indicating it moves one forward, one back, etc. The bishop is a cross, indicating the diagonal. And it has this sort of knock-on effect of creating simple reminders for new chess players of how their pieces move. And it's surprisingly educational while also being beautifully designed and elegant as well. So sometimes a solution might come to you that seems too simple. Like, why didn't somebody think of this before? Probably a good sign that you're on the right track. So follow that simple solution, don't dismiss it, and dig a little bit deeper. Maybe there's something more to be revealed. And then finally, a good example is retail. Retail actively understands its users and the psychology of shopping. And a lot of things, innovations have come from that. The one-click buy on Amazon, candy at checkout. People are more likely to buy small items that aren't very good for you. They're more likely to buy it at checkout than pick it up from the shelf because it's sort of a quick, easy thing to do. E-vouchers that can be applied instantly. You'll see that a lot now where discounts are automatically applied to encourage the user to buy. So retailers really understand how to get people over that shopping hump and commit to purchasing something. So I want to do a little survey, and what we're going to do is I will ask people to use the reactions to hit the right emoji that's shown here. So first of all, let's see, ask people if you feel AI will threaten your career. If you think yes, it's going to take over a lot of your tasks, put the thumbs up reaction icon. If you're a little fearful, put in the little oh my god icon as well. And finally, no, it's never going to replace human ingenuity, put in the heart icon. Great. So my response to that is AI a threat to design? I would say a little bit of yes and no. So it will be able to take over common tasks such as traditional wireframing and prototyping. It's going to be able to do the obvious thing that 90% of people could do with their eyes closed. And it's important to see it as a new tool the same way you saw Sketch as a new tool, Figma as a new tool. You learned it, you learned how to use it. New things kind of came out of that, particularly with Figma. Design systems sort of became a whole thing, much more valued than when we had to use Sketch as a tool. So learn it because it is going to do some obvious tasks for you that will take some wasted time off your plate. But it won't be able to create ingenuity and innovation because it cannot, right now, think not just as a human, but outside the box of humanity. So the hearing aid example that I talked about, very unlikely to be able to come up with that. It'll come up with maybe the more obvious, less curveball ideas straight out. So what I want to encourage is, because AI is taking over a lot of day-to-day tasks, really flex your design thinking. Your humanity and design thinking is what sets you apart. So let's talk about research. So research is a tricky one. A lot of companies, we'll say FAANG companies, put a lot of emphasis on research, but use research judiciously. Don't become a, well, the research didn't show me this, so I don't think it's a good idea. There's reasons for that. So there's three types of research. There's marketing research, behavioral research, and data research. Marketing research is looking at demographics, what people want or say they want. So the pro of it is it can clarify the area of solution you should be working on, but it misses the individual's needs and wants. If people had been interviewed, 100 people, and you ask them, what would you like to see in composing a letter? They might come up with the average ideas. It's unlikely you'll notice that one person who might have sight issues come up with a very, very innovative idea, but because they were the one, it's dismissed as, well, that's just an edge case. And then you miss out on inventing the typewriter. Behavioral research, it does provide insights into what people are thinking during the experience, but how behavioral research is done is a bit of a con. It's like Schrodinger's cat. Once you start observing a person for research purposes, they don't behave the way they naturally would because they're very conscious they're part of a research experiment. So they're telling you maybe the answers you want to hear, or they're behaving in a good way rather than behaving in a real way. And finally, data research. The pros are outliers in data can provide insights that might not be immediately obvious to people, but your team can become too dependent on data. And data doesn't capture a level of abstraction. It will maybe make assumptions or theories you have. It might support them, but don't let it lead your theory or idea. It should be helping you support the theory or idea. So research, the way I think about it is your research will tell you what people are saying. Your observation of people and how they behave tells you what they mean. And it's really important to understand the difference between how people talk and how people behave. They can be vastly different. So let's look at how we improve your design thinking skills. How do you actually do that? So it's really important to be able to remove yourself from the experiment or solution that you're looking at. So you must be able to train yourself with a slightly removed mindset, being able to see how you behave with a very objective perspective is really important. And once you can start other people, an example would be I've worked on YouTube, where I worked on a product that allows you to cast to multiple devices. I observed me using YouTube. That wasn't necessarily the use case that was most important to me. The use case that was most important to me was being able to cast a short to the TV and having a friend be able to also add their short to the cast as well. So we're like sharing content together on one device. Having some multiple device wasn't as important, and that changed how we thought about the product. Simply coming from me observing, it wasn't research. We had tons of research telling us about what people expect managing multiple devices. We had no research telling us actually this is what people really want to do. They want to share shorts on the TV. So here are some concrete skills for good design thinking. Okay. So if you want to become an observer of human behavior, create some emotional and physical distance between you and the subject. So really think about design thinking as a scientific endeavor. It is not science. There was a period of time they tried to make design thinking a science, but it is not an exact science. But if you think of yourself as a scientist, it does create a little bit of emotional distance, which is what you need to really see, observe true, powerful insights. So the other thing is thinking about insights and innovation. You will have a random thought while you're thinking about a product solution. You might not even be thinking about it. You might be on the way to get a coffee and you have a very fleeting thought about the product or an idea. Jot it down. Anything that seems stupid, just jot it down, because strangely the odd ideas or maybe the crazy ideas or the silly ideas end up being really strong ideas. So get into the habit of taking notes of your observations or your thoughts. Informal communication is key. So when you're doing, say, research, maybe you're talking to users, don't make it a UX interview. Really think of it as just an informal coffee chat. You're catching up with someone. The reason I recommend that is if somebody is very relaxed during a conversation, they start giving you the more honest truth. There are various levels of truth. There's the correct answer truth that you might give in, say, an interview. And then there's sort of the brutal, no filter truth, which you really want to get to when you're doing user research. So make your subject really comfortable and make it very casual, and jot down, whether it's mentally or on paper, any real insights that come from how they're sitting. Into the practice of rumination. Really close your eyes, put yourself in the shoes of the person you're solving for or the product you're going to be you want users to use, and just walk through it. So an example might be how do you make a healthcare system better, or going through a hospital easier for a patient. So just imagine it, just sit down and close it from having an accident and what that feels like and what your feelings are having an accident, to contacting the hospital, to getting to the hospital, to checking in at the hospital, being seen by a doctor. How long does it take? Just walk through it. A lot of it might not have to do with your solution, but you will be surprised where relevant thoughts come up when you start imagining what the experience is currently like. And really examine your own behavior. It's very important to, think about how you would do something, how you would use something, and how you would really use it. You might understand the problem inside out. You might even understand what the solution should be inside out, but just do it and see what happens. All right, so let's talk about how this can help your career. So it can level up your career. And, these are old stats, but they're still relevant. The median average salary for job postings that required design thinking is 24% higher than similar jobs without that requirement. Between 2020 and 2021, job postings for design thinking doubled. Now, design thinking had a little bit of a moment at Harvard Business School and IDEO, but a lot of non-designers really misunderstood what design thinking is. So it's important that you understand what it is so that you can express it to the right people so that they really value you. Some examples I've shown here are, I have some notes here, so I'm going to just look at these. Some examples are Oral-B was asked, designers were asked to, can we make the toothbrush, create biometrics about how well you brush? The designers just like, nobody wants that. So they went through the process of a toothbrush and travel and realized that most people actually want to charge their electric toothbrush using their laptop because they might have forgotten their charger. So they just added a USB port to the charger, and that was something people actually wanted. Uber Eats, they make those, the delivery times, etc. What they didn't realize was parking can be difficult in certain areas. So they experimented by being delivery people, the designers of Uber Eats, delivery people for a week, so that they could start understanding where the real issues were in trying to deliver an order to a customer. Airbnb, in the early days, they were not earning a lot of money. I think it was something like $200 a week, I think the company was making. They realized they traveled as customers of their own product, and they realized they gravitated towards listings that had better pictures. So they offered better pictures as a free service, and that put their revenue on an immediate curve up. Netflix, we talked about. Another example of Netflix is they now have shorter trailers. They realized the long trailers were really irritating users. So they have very short clips now that they run automatically. And GE Healthcare, there's lots of examples of healthcare, of design thinking. An example is kids in MRIs, very stressful situation for them. They simply painted the MRI, the inside, to look like a beach or a pirate ship or something fun that really relaxed the kid and made it a stressful experience a lot less stressful. So some points when you're doing an interview, make sure you use the company's product for 24 hours in the real world. Jot down all your observations and ideas. Share some of them in your interview. It will really show that you understand the product and you have some value to add to the product as well. Discuss how the product experience is beyond the screen. Good example might be you're designing a mobile app. Discuss that maybe the mobile app, where and when you're using it, has some extra design elements that they haven't thought of. I'm trying to think, maybe scheduling an appointment through a mobile app is challenging because people using this app are trying to do it on a bus that's moving, or they're trying to do it in their car. So maybe we can come up with simpler ways to design it. Really talk about personal stories that echo the experience of the customer. If you're interviewing for Uber Eats, order Uber Eats and talk about some things where it worked and some things that didn't work. Share a personal story of your experience. Communicate you understand the business goals. Companies have business goals. They are for-profit businesses. Understand that you are using your design thinking to help them achieve their goal. And then discuss a design you love and why. The chess set that I shared is a great example because it shows you are always thinking about design in any environment, whatever it is, and it also shows you have a passion for design. And thank you for listening. I believe that is my time, and we have a few minutes for questions.
Thank you so much, James. That was wonderful. We'll now hop over to the Q&A.
Yes, so this question, when you're designing for an unfamiliar area and have only research and limited time, how can you effectively incorporate observation into your process? Observation is part of your research. So if you have limited time, observation should be first, research such as Googling, etc., I would suggest be second. Make sure your design thinking and your observations are coming in full force and research is supporting some of your observations. If you're starting your design career today, how would you future-proof it? Well, the truth is there is no such thing as future-proofing a career, but adaptability is very important. So you're constantly learning new tools. That's just a fact of any career. You must have a passion for design and design thinking. If you don't, I don't know if you should, design is for you. And you must always be looking at what are things in design and the design world that really reaffirm your faith that design is a great way to solve today's problems. No, so I wouldn't actually recommend any testing tools. Testing and research have a position, but as I mentioned, behavioral research, just initially do some behavioral research purely by observation. If you have to do a project around supermarkets, go to a supermarket, do some shopping yourself, observe what your needs, observe other people, observe, say, parents with kids and how they navigate the supermarket. That'll tell you a lot more than any testing tool will tell you. With all the AI hype, what's one thing you think designers shouldn't stress about? I would say AI. Don't stress about it. It is another tool. Learn it and be aware of how it can help you, because AI isn't going away anytime, but it really is just another tool. Think of it as Figma and think of it as something you need to learn to grow your career, but also grow you as a designer. What's a design thinking skill that's helped you the most in keeping your career adaptable? Observation. Observation is number one. When I sometimes call out insights, whether it's to interviewers or to teams I'm working on, you see the realization of, oh, you're right. Why didn't I think of that before? It has made me very valuable the way I think on teams and in job hunting and career, etc. What's one non-digital problem you solved using design thinking that made you go, yep, this stuff really works? Well, the hearing aid is the example I gave. I feel it was very non-digital. It's mostly manufacturing. There are other examples that I'm trying to think of. Oh, there was a healthcare company that was all digital, but the number one thing I recommended that wasn't on the docket was just recidivism is when patients go back to a hospital, and recidivism was high in this hospital network. So basically I said, just give them a number they can call before they come back to the hospital. And that one non-digital solution dropped recidivism by 40%. Because most of the time it was something as simple as they just needed to be validated in the concern they had or a question they might have.
That's all the questions we have. Thank you so much, James. That was super insightful.